#Real Race Talk. It's the Revved Up Sports Show talking local, regional, and national action. Here's Bobby Chaffee and Rodney Rodriguez.
Hello, friends. It is your Monday staple on a Tuesday. #Real Race Talk. It is the Revved Up Sports Show, the Revved Up Livecast. Bobby Chaffee and Rodney Rodriguez diving in. We're going to do some fun stuff tonight. Talk a little bit of short track racing, maybe some Daytona 500, 645. That's about 12 minutes from now. Big Mike McCarthy is going to check in from Heart of Texas Speedway. Big Chill Enduro 250 coming up, 7:15-ish or so. Zach Clark will dive in. We'll have an announcer bullshit session as we go back and forth, get all of Zach's plans and everything that he has going on as well. Bobby Bobby's actually down south. I am up north. Bobby, I want to ask you something. So I was and I'm not sure why, now that I'm not I'm doing no real estate stuff. I still read the stupid Austin Business Journal. And I was reading today that they're talking about building a Buc-ee's over there. Have you seen that?
Yep, they're going to be right down the street from the house.
Is it? Yeah, that's what I thought. That's going to be right by you. That's going to be over there in the THR area? It's in Yard.
Kind of catty corner from it, like on the Chuck Nash shine.
Damn! How about that, man?
If you had to go south if you got back on Yarrington, right, and headed south towards San Antonio, it's supposed to be right there at that corner of Yarrington and 35, right there.
That's a good spot. I mean, that's a pretty good spot. And I saw that this is apparently going to be a big one, and you can even go charge your EVs there. I saw that this one's going to be. I'm like, oh shit. Get ready. The vandals are going to get out there and get after it. I don't know, but man, that's a really good spot. That's a really good spot for one.
Well, they've been trying to reorganize that area for a long time, and then when they ended up not being able to get to land the Best Buy there and the HEB and all that stuff and what they wanted, they ended up zoning it industrial, and then the guy sold the racetrack land, and it turned into a bunch of business parks. Ironically, will still be occupied by car parts, this time by Tesla. And so it comes through full circle to a certain extent. But that's that side over there. There's an apartment complex over there. The biggest thing, though, is that you're going to get some pushback from it because of all those houses over there on the other side of Yarrington Road. That's where you're going to get the pushback. There's a bunch of real, and they're not just little bitty houses. There's some big ass fancy houses back over there too.
That's what I thought, because I know on your side. I mean, I kind of go over there every now and then to do whatever, but it's like I haven't really been over on that other side. I mean, I'll go to Nash every now and then to kind of visit them, but it's like I never really go very deep back in there. And there's
$750,000, the $750,000 $1 million houses so back there. It's the same people that used to bitch about the racetrack are the same people that are going to end up bitching about Buc-ee's.
No, yeah, of course. Yeah. Remember them well. I remember them well. There's your QR code to take you straight to the Revved Up site. Show is live. Everything is right there. It's all snazzy right now. And of course, all the shows, you can watch them after the fact. All you got to do is click the QR code and it gets you hooked up right there. You can probably even save that onto your home screen as we dive in. Your comments, we'd love to hear them throughout the night on the topics, hot topics, maybe cold topics, whatever you have to talk about. Let's break this shit down. Let's break all this stuff down as we dive in, because what are we, February 20th, and it's about go time right now, dude. It's about to fire up massively right now around here.
Well, it's fixing to. Obviously, you get to the 500. I still don't understand short tracks and stuff that try to schedule against the 500. And we get into that argument all the time about people that say they don't give a shit about NASCAR and that it doesn't matter. But yet there's tent pole races that people have a tendency to watch. One of them is the Daytona 500. Another one's the Indianapolis 500. Throw in a couple of maybe Southern 500s, random Bristol races, stuff like that. There's a couple of tent pole races that people have a tendency to watch, and I don't understand the scheduling. But I mean, granted, I guess it worked out this year a little bit with the rain, but you can't figure it's going to rain in Daytona for 2 straight days when you're sending out your calendar back, in November.
Yeah, and that's one of those things. I mean, speaking of that, so I got up this morning and, just kind of checking stuff out, just kind of bracing myself for what I'm going to see. And I see this from Kenny Wallace, and doesn't this just make so much sense?
I'm going to save my thoughts about the race till tomorrow, but just the complete fucking, my life is a disaster. That race was anticlimactic. It was little babies.
Stop it.
I gotta fuck with them a little bit.
No.
All right. So anyway, no, you try to entertain yourself. Like, it was a really good race, like a really good, for so many reasons. Had a wreck on lap 6. Coming to the checker flag on the stage win. I mean, the finish was incredible. But my driver did not win. I don't like the sport. In the meanwhile, it was sold out, 100,000 people. And these son of a bitches are wrecking their ass off for this Xfinity race.
Yeah, that's Kenny Wallace. So kind of the thoughts right there from Kenny, in that, a lot of folks, it's like when these NASCAR races are going on, folks ask me, they're like, "Why are you posting shit? Are you drunk?" I'm like, "Well, I'm probably drinking," but I do it for exactly what he's doing right there, just to get people stirred up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's horrible, and everybody's commenting. It's like, okay, hey, you know what?
I'm never going to watch a NASCAR race again in my life. Did you see what that dumb sumbitch did on lap 67?
Yeah, these drivers suck. Man. Tell you what driver sucked. It was Friday. Holy God. Now, that was a shit show.
Which one? The truck race or the ARCA race? Or both?
Well, ARCA's not so surprising. But you know the sad thing about it? We were talking about this the other day. I mean, it would be one thing if with the trucks, with the Elmore engines and so forth, it would be one thing if you had all that carnage. If it was, I think it would be a different perspective if we had like a bunch of veterans. Let's go back to if it was like Jack Sprague and Mike Skinner and those guys, Ron Hornaday Jr., if they were out there. Because like we were talking about on Saturday, the trucks just don't go anywhere. That's the bad part about it. But the fact that, coupled with some of these youngsters, it's kind of twofold right there, and it just turns into just a mess like we saw Friday night.
Yeah, well, it was fun to watch. And if you're an owner or anything else like that, but I mean, the carnage was about what people expected at Daytona. I just think they expected it sooner. The attention span for a 500-mile race is a hell of a lot smaller than it used to be. And considering the big one didn't happen until 8 laps to go, I think a lot of people were like, well, shit. The Xfinity race, hell, they crashed from top to bottom, inside out all night long in that damn race. A lot of ARCA breaks in that Xfinity race, too.
Oh, man, you had quite a mess right there. And that, just kind of setting the tone right there. I mean, the race last night, I mean, William Byron's a damn good race car driver. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, the finish, what it was. I mean, I saw some different camera angles to where maybe the 48. I mean, I don't know. The bottom line is they say if you hit the stripe and they throw the white flag, the next flag ends it. And that part was right. That part was right.
And they can't go back and fix that. They were coming to the white. The white flag was in the hands of the flagman, getting ready to be waved as they go a football field a second. He was ready to wave that sumbitch because they were coming to the white flag.
That graphic last night, I thought was had they done that before?
I haven't seen it before.
I hadn't seen that before, and I was talking to some folks today on the Unfiltered show, that we were getting messages where I can't believe they're going that fast. I'm like, it's a couple clips right there, 200 miles per hour down the straightaway. You're going that fast, and they're like, well, it takes a guy however long to run a 40. I'm like, well, yeah, this was 100. This was 100, and they were doing that fast. I love that graphic. That was really good. That was really
that was a smart graphic. Whoever decided to make that one, that was good. That almost seemed like a smart ass NBC graphic. But it came up on Fox. That was a good. You're not going to see that. You'll probably see it this weekend. You'll probably see it on the speedway races this weekend and in Atlanta. I mean, that talk about carnage back to back, going from Daytona to Atlanta.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to get a little nasty. It's going to get a little nasty when they do that. Where's everybody at? I know we've got people on. We've got people watching because I could see everything on the backside, but there's nothing in the chat. And it's like there's usually people, I'm checking in from wherever, or I don't know what the deal is. What's on today? Well, I know Tim Bryant is on. He's doing In the Groove. I know there's a couple of other racing shows that are going to be on, but where is everybody? I mean, we've got people on, but nobody has anything to say. I mean, we don't have to talk NASCAR. I mean, we're just kind of filling. It's the first 15 that we always repost. So You guys tell us what you're thinking about it. I mean, if you think the NASCAR race sucked, tell us. You think the truck drivers are shit? Tell us. That's what we're here for.
That's what it's all about. Open forum, and some people differ in opinions, and that's just fine.
Just don't be picking on my favorite driver. Do you see? She led 7 laps last night in the Busch or in the nation. Oh, God damn it! What's it called? Xfinity
race.
7 laps for Natalie Decker. They said she was going to cause the big one. They said she was going to do whatever. She held her own. I think she did really well.
I think she finished 15th or 18th, one of the two.
Yeah, I think she was 18th. So she stayed out of trouble, kept everything clean, kept that car. It has been a hell of a ride for them to get that team put together. Have you listened to the Jesse Punch podcast?
Mm-mm.
It's a good one to listen to. And she did a very in-depth interview with Natalie, and it was really cool because it was two, quite attractive girls just slinging F-bombs and shit everywhere. So I was like, I like that. Very good. Very good.
Right up your alley.
Yeah, really good stuff. Hey, I did want to mention again, Mike McCarthy's coming up. I've had this for a couple of weeks, and I keep neglecting to talk about it. We do want to talk about, as we've talked about different schedules and so forth coming up, our friends over at the Texas Dirt Truck Series. They're getting set to go, as we're talking about being on the cusp of all the races that are coming up. March 30th. They'll fire off there at Cotton Bowl Speedway, and then a lot of racing right there. They got 3 dates in April. Then you've got 2 in May. June is extremely busy. August is really, really busy. So that's a pretty good, healthy looking schedule right there for the Texas Dirt Truck Series.
Well, they added a couple of races at the home base there. They didn't have any scheduled at I-37 there. The first time they released the schedule, it looks like they worked with Ray and Mike down there and got a lot of stuff ironed out to get themselves on the schedule. So I think that's a good thing to have. I mean, whatever, the more races they have, the potentially the better racing it'll be.
Yeah. TexasDirtTrucks.com, as you can see right down there at the bottom of the graphic, is where you go to check them out. And what I like about that one is, I love the momentum. I love the idea when it first came out. No, I didn't love the idea. I'm like, you're going to get a lot of pavement trucks and so forth, but they really have seemed to have a lot of momentum, it seems like, BC, here in the last couple of years, where they've added some really good drivers, and they've gotten some good trucks. They have really damn good truck counts. So I think that's the main thing about it. I mean, there's obviously a lot of interest right there. And again, it's something that I think will really work around here because it's something different. I mean, it's not like all the regular series that we see around here.
Well, I think it has a chance to work. The issue with the truck series is a little bit of the balance of performance, if you will, between the haves and the have-nots in the series. Your top 6, top 7 are really, really fast.
Mm-hmm.
Great racing, doing some good racing amongst themselves all the way up into the top 10. Problem is 16th, 17th, 18th into 20th, not so fast, and will be multiple laps down pretty damn quick. And sometimes that leads to cautions that don't need to be there. It leads to potential accidents and wrecks that don't need to be there. So I think that overall, don't be wrong, it's a great series. It's a fun race to call when those guys are going top to bottom, 3-4 wide. But sometimes when you get that little balance of performance between some of the slower machines, it does make for a sometimes non-fun race to call there, maybe.
It just kind of strings itself out, is what happens. And I mean, but that's a lot of them. But I do like. I mean, they look different. I mean, to me, it's very different to me seeing the trucks on dirt because I'm used to the trucks, obviously on asphalt, to where you see them and they're very streamlined. It's very momentum driven with what they're doing right there. And then you see them on dirt and they're all kind of cocked over, laying to the side. I mean, a dirt truck. I mean, it's something totally different. So it's a different appearing type of thing. But I think it's something that, hey, they have done extremely well. So I have no problem with that. Here we go. We finally got somebody in there. Kenny Berry. Leaders need to pay attention and drive around as long as guys hold their line. I don't know if we're talking about, is that trucks or is that NASCAR? Yeah, you can tell.
Well, it needs to be for everything, really.
That's anything. Hey, we got a big one coming up. We got a huge one coming up this weekend at Heart of Texas Speedway as they get set to fire off with the Big Chill Enduro 250. Here's what's coming up this weekend. Big Chill Enduro 250 at the world-famous Heart of Texas Speedway in Waco, Saturday, February the 24th. A race like no other. Gates at 2, race at 6, $2,500 on the line. This race like you will not see anywhere else. Standing starts, no caution flags, pitting allowed, driver changes allowed. Every type of vehicle that you can think of on the racetrack. It is the world-famous Heart of Texas Speedway, the Big Chill Enduro 250, February 24th, Heart of Texas Speedway in Waco. Be there! And diving in with us, here is the man right here. He has one of those vehicles sitting right behind him. And as you saw right there in the ad, it's all different kind of vehicles. And that's famous number 20 right there. It is our man, Big Mike McCarthy. Big Mike, how we doing, brother?
I'm doing good, guys. How y'all doing?
There we go. We got you, man. So what are you doing there? Are you racing? You got somebody that's going to run in that thing?
Dustin Mooney's going to drive that car behind me. Nice. He drove it at the 600 last year.
That's right. Sure did.
So, Mike, talk about the challenge of an enduro opening up a season. For me, I always thought an enduro, even a demo derby type of race, was one of them races that probably fit better towards the end of the year because you'd have a whole off season to rebuild the racetrack if there was incidents and ruts and all kind of stuff. Talk about the challenge of having that enduro to kick it off, because then you still got to kind of rebuild the racetrack a little bit.
Well, the racetrack gets worked every week from our weekly shows to our big shows, so it's not and as far as running the enduro early in the year, there's such a following of enduro drivers now that I believe there's 4 enduros set up between February, March. I think there's one in June, and who knows, we might even add one to the calendar at Heart of Texas and have a second one.
Oh man. And how great are these, Mike? Because like we were talking about, I mean, it's virtually any type of car, and a lot of it goes into the fact that, I mean, you can have something like you have right behind you right there. That thing looks like it ought to fly right around the racetrack, but there may be an old Nova that's going to beat a car like that, because this is endurance, and that's what makes this thing just so damn cool.
Yeah, it's about making it to 250 laps. In the case of the Lone Star 600, making it 2 nights of 300 laps. It's about finishing the race and not necessarily going fast. Although these cars that are running these enduro races, a lot of them are race cars now, and they get around there pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I think you just hit on something really good there, Mike. The fact that they're not enduro cars, they are race cars. The pace for the 600 is incredibly fast, more so than what people think when they get there. It seems like the enduros used to be just the battle of bombers, right? First car to survive 200 laps, 250 laps. Now there's damn near just outright racing for 250, 300 laps. It's crazy, the evolution of these enduro cars.
Yeah, you got a lot of people putting time and effort to make sure the car will last, changing bars from a 5/8 bar to a 3/4 bar, putting a heavier front suspension on so the steering will take a little more abuse and not get so messed up where you can't drive the car. So I mean, there's a lot of thought that goes into it, between suspension and putting a larger fuel cell in it and a big fuel line, and you don't want to pull off the racetrack, so you do what you can to stay on it.
Yep. And Mike, let's just kind of break this thing down. Obviously, no caution flags. You don't have any of that. If something happens that's safety related, obviously the race is going to be stopped, or where folks are in harm's danger. But kind of talk about that part, because it is a lot of times when you get into a caution flag fest, it's like that's the stuff that kind of turns people off. But these things, you guys are just going to be going. And like I said, if it's detrimental, it's something that's going to stop. But you don't bullshit around for very long. You're off and going once again.
No, we stop the race. We got to have wreckers moving and moving the cars out of the way, and then we'll go like a yellow red and let the cars who want to leave the track, give them about 30 seconds to a minute, and then we're back to green.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
So talk about the momentum the Heart of Texas had. What is 57 years now, I think, if memory serves me right. That track is just the track that's the Energizer Bunny of racetracks. It just keeps going, and every year it seems to get bigger and better and more fun. And The crowd's always there. The car count's always spectacular. It's a staple on Friday nights in the great state of Texas. Talk about the momentum, not only just for this Enduro, but for this upcoming season there at HOT.
Well, you got to give credit to the ownership and the people who work there, because they're not afraid to try something new. We're trying a whole new advertising campaign with some TV stations all year long. Thank you, Rodney, by the way. We're trying new, and we've already signed a bunch of new sponsors to the racetrack. Ace Auto Supply, KWTX actually signed on. Pioneer Steel there in Waco. So, I mean, we got a lot of interest in the racetrack. And then we've got our sponsors for the Enduro, Golden's Books and Brazos Roofing have come on just to help out with the purse on the Enduro. And, we've got those businesses around that want to be a part of that great racing that's going on there every week.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mike, with this race on Saturday, with the Big Chill Enduro 250 coming up Saturday there at Heart of Texas Speedway, I don't know if you're privy to or even want to, or if you know, but what I love about these races is that you have some young drivers, you have folks that may have never raced before that attempt to do this, and then you have guys that are veterans that have raced many years, and they're in this race. You have a great variety of different drivers right here, and I think that's what makes these enduros so cool, because it's not about being fast and winning on lap number one. You got to go 250 fucking laps. That is a long time.
Yeah, you got to be there at the end. You got to save your stuff, and the key is not to leave the racetrack. Be on the racetrack, sit on the racetrack if there is a red flag, and be ready to get going again. And you want your car to be reliable enough where if you turn it off, it's gonna start right back up. You want to save fuel where you can. There's a lot of thought and strategy that goes into these races, and like you said, there'll be young drivers that are rated 16 years old, and there'll be guys that have been racing for 30 years in this race.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's talk about the rules real quick, Mike. I imagine the rule book is not very long for a race of this nature.
Well, we kind of there you go. There's the rules right there. It's about 3/4 of a page. We take the rules that the Lone Star 600 uses, and we don't require mufflers. That's the only change we have is 8-inch tire on an 8-inch wheel with a groove tire. If you want to run a slick tire, you can run a 10-inch rim. You got to weigh 2,800 pounds after the race. That's about it. If you run a wing, you got to run a 2-barrel. If you don't run a wing, you can run whatever carburetor you want or fuel injection, whatever you want.
Man, that's awesome. And that is a cool thing, because you'll see every variety. And Brad Dixon checking in right there. You talked about the Lone Star 600. He will apparently be there as well. Not a surprise. But other tidbits about this weekend coming up, Mike. It looks like, I know a lot of times when we get to the end of February right here, when you get into the big chill, that's not going to be the case this weekend. It's going to be 80 degrees up around here.
We're going to finally have a good weekend of weather for this race. We had pretty bad weather two years ago, but we got the race in, and last year the weather just hit us right on the wrong day, and we had to cancel. So we're really looking forward to having this race again.
Yeah, that's right.
And I will say this: I'm really interested to see how the Lone Star 600 goes this year, because we might change our format next year depending on how the 600 goes down at 105 Speedway. So I'm really looking forward to being down there and having this car run in that race. I got one of the extra entries where they opened it up to a few more drivers. I was on the wait list, and Dustin's going to be driving that car for me again down there.
Love it.
So talk race specifics, Mike. What time does it start? What time is the grandstands? If you know that off the top of your head, tell us about the race specifics.
The pit gate's going to open at 1 o'clock. We're going to have some hot laps between 3 and 4:30. Kind of get the track running a little bit. We're going to get some moisture in the track and get it down deep, and and have the guys run some hot laps, maybe work the track a little more. We're going to start the race right at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And Mike, kind of quickly over March the 1st, the season opener there. It's going to be regular race classes that evening there for you guys. Then it's every Friday that's going on. HeartofTexasSpeedway.com. Kind of talk about that. It's all the staple races. You've got all the memorial races, all the special races, Easter races, all of that. Fall Classic at the end. It just looks like another full season of racing right there at Heart of Texas Speedway.
I definitely want to point out we're going to have a big modified race at the end of the year in September, Mod Wars. That thing's going to be huge. We got 182 modifieds already registered for that race and 55 sport mods. We were only going to sign up 50 of them, but we couldn't turn it off quick enough. The registrations were coming in so fast. So that will be definitely a race you won't want to miss.
That's awesome.
Martin, well, yeah, they were doing that. They're announcing that one at the Dome there in St. Louis. So they got a lot. It was the Heart of Texas Heat Race number 2, if I remember correctly. So lots of how did that deal turn out, Mike? You know how that deal is? It just one of those that Chase Allen just wanted to help promote it, or did Jerry step in on that? How'd that end up happening on a big race like that to get hot sponsorship on that?
I'll be real honest. Chase has been trying to get Jerry to do that race for a long time. He had to get a good business case together, and he's followed through with all the stuff Jerry's asked him to do. And they went to the Dome with a good plan to get the word out, get some advertising done, and it's really paying off. We're gonna really hit advertising that race coming up. We're gonna be looking for sponsors for that race, and we want to make the next year the race that we do, Mod Wars number 2, even bigger than the first one. So if any company wants to get on and help out with that race, get a hold of me, get a hold of Chase Allen, get a hold of Selby Holder. We can all help you out with that.
Isn't that the great thing, Mike? Lastly, right here, it really seems like in this year where, now we've got the STEM series, you've got Tom's, you got everything with modified. The fact that you guys were able to nail this big son of a gun down, I mean, that this is going to be really a bigger deal than people can even imagine for Heart of Texas Speedway.
I believe so. It's gonna put the modifieds back on the map, the outlaw modifieds. I look forward to be one of the biggest shows of the year.
Yeah, I think so too.
And I'm really happy that Race on Texas is going to be streaming it at this point.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. All right, Mike, get back to work there, my man. I know you got stuff to do. Big Chill Enduro 250 coming up Saturday, Heart of Texas Speedway. That is on the 24th, I think. Is it? I do those things and I can't remember the damn date. 24th.
Saturday the 24th at 6 o'clock.
Saturday the 24th.
Be watching for the commercials in the Waco area tomorrow and all over Facebook.
That's
and again, thank you, Rodney, for putting those voiceovers together. You do a hell of a job.
Man, I used that. I was hoping that I could use it. I didn't even ask you. I'm just like, fuck it. I'm going to use it. So anyway, all right, Mike, appreciate it, dude. Good luck this weekend, and y'all have a great event. Glad you're doing it again this year.
All right, guys. Always appreciate being on here.
You got it, man. You got it.
Thank you, Mike.
You got it. There he goes. Big Mike McCarthy. Big Chill Enduro 250 coming up at Heart of Texas Speedway. Those are a lot of fun. And I do like, I think the Enduros to me, I love the question that you asked him right there, because I think those are really good early on or after, towards the end of the year. That really kind of seems like the time. That way you can find the gaps in the schedule right there for folks to be able to find time to be able to get to those places. And I think the fact with, what the Lone Star 600 has done, and this one here in Waco, I mean, this is pretty damn big deal right here. I think they're going to have a really nice count coming up on Saturday.
I think so. I mean, like I said, there's dedicated enduro racers from all across the country, but what we're starting to see is a pretty damn talented Texas contingent of racers. And I think Mike hit on something interesting about we're so used to the way the 600s running on those great big 3/8 and half-mile racetracks like there at Battleground and over at Mesquite. So now I think the fact that it's going back to a little bitty short track there at 105 for 2024, I think that it's got to be a unique situation to where you're not going to be able to run that many cars on a short track like that. And that will be the determination, I think, of how successful enduros are going forward. Because some of these little tracks, they don't want to do it because there's too many cars. These big tracks, they don't want to do it because they don't want to tear up the damn track. So now you got to find that magic formula to make it work somewhere.
Yeah, and as Wesley says, coming up at Lone Star Speedway, March the 30th, 275 laps right there. But that's a very good point, because now with the small tracks right there, I mean, I love the different format, and it's that drastically changes everything, because it's like I know with the 600 there at Devil's Bowl, I mean, you get out there and you're going, and you got a lot of room, and you're just kind of you're cruising. I mean, you're cruising. You get a lot of them that are hauling ass. I mean, I remember, like I've talked about, the first race I ever ran, Bobby, was in February of '86 at San Antonio on the asphalt. I ran a 250, and Leroy Farmer sent me the video of it that I passed to my dad to let him have that, and I went and sat there and watched that, and I just rode around on the bottom. Had no fucking clue what I was doing, and I finished 7th. And it was one of those things on the big track. But now when you go small here, I think you do something a little creative, a little crafty over at Heart of Texas Speedway moving forward, and that could be a hell of a way to start the season.
But you just got to find the right line, right? Where you want to be tucked on the inside, tucked on the outside. That middle lane's probably going to be clogged up with cars needing assistance. So I think that's going to be the way around it. Either not flat on the bottom, like under the racetrack, but I think you either need to be on the top or on that bottom lane, just to try to get yourself a good racing lane there for the rest of the enduro.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That is coming up Saturday. That'll be a fun day. At Heart of Texas. Like we said, weather 80, 82. I think 82 in Round Rock is what we're going to have that day. So weather's not going to be an issue. I mean, hell, if anything, it'll be too hot.
It'll be too hot for a race out there that early in the year.
It'll be a little too hot, and Waco always has that wind. You always have kind of that south wind or that north wind that's kind of whipping across right there. So the racetrack is going to continue to change as the night goes on. Friends, as we always talk about here on the program, of course, we are presented by On Demand Shirts. You see Bobby and I wearing the cool gear that is presented by James Cole and all the great folks at On Demand Shirts. They can hook you up as you need all of your racing paraphernalia as we dive into the 2024 racing season. They'll do you a logo, they'll do the design, they'll do all of that for you, and they're going to do it much budget friendlier than some of the major outlets that you may find on the Amazons or different different major racing providers that are strictly on that. On Demand does, I mean, it's not just racing stuff that they do. On Demand Shirts is more the racing stuff. But man, go check out all of the great work that they do. How about a word from them? It's our great partners in San Antonio. It's On Demand Shirts. Call them up. They will hook you up. It is On Demand Shirts in San Antonio. Checking in right there. You know this dude is going to be there at the Enduro, Big Chill Enduro 250. Joe Spillman, our man, checking in on the program tonight.
Did you see the shirts that James Cole and the gang made for South Texas Race Ranch?
I did, man. That's some really good looking shit.
Some good looking shirts.
That is some really good looking stuff, and man, they're going to be going too. I mean, talk about an opener right there with the sprint cars coming in, 2 big nights of action. So, like we talk about, it's time to go. It is exactly time to go, and these enduros are really cool ways to start. Bobby, I'm excited this weekend. Have you seen that Deuces Wild? That's oh man, what is it? I got it over here. Lucas Oil Dirt Series and the High Limit Sprint Cars, and they'll be at Golden Isle Speedway. It's a 3-night event. So what you're going to have, I think, let me take a look right here. I'll read you what it says. The multi-day extravaganza dubbed Deuces Wild will kick off Wednesday. What is that? That's tomorrow, Wednesday the 21st, with an open practice for the Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model Series, High Limit Sprint Cars, and the 604 Late Models. And then as they go on Thursday, the High Limit Sprint Cars race for $10,000 to win. On Friday, the late models race for $10,000 to win, and then on Saturday, both race in $20,000 to win finales. That's a hell of a show.
Be a hell of a show. I'm assuming it will be on Flow Racing for those that have the Flow Racing subscription.
I would assume that's where it's going to be. Additional information at lucasdirt.com, but that seems to be where every damn thing else is. So yeah, check that good stuff out. That now that's a fun program. I'm sorry, man. I'm really kind of digging these late models. To me, the late models are just cooler, in my opinion.
They have a lot of fun. A lot of it ends up being a lot of that you can still make contact with a late model. Not real good contact. It doesn't last very long, but you can definitely make more side to side, front to back contact with a late model you can with a sprint car for damn sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You guys, your comments, hot topics, cold topics, whatever, feel free to drop them right there, and we can break those down. Zach Clark is checking in with us at 7:15. We'll talk to him about whatever he may be doing this year. Get his plans. Somebody was asking, who's announcing where or whatever. It's like I don't really know, man. I'm doing good to know where I'm supposed to be on certain dates. So that's kind of the thought there with all of that. But we'll get Zach's thoughts on what he's doing. Again, we shared that truck schedule. We popped that up right there. Bobby, we had kind of back over to the asphalt right quick over at New Smyrna, the World Series, man, that Clyde Hart Memorial 200. Bubba Pollard comes out and does what he does. I mean, Bubba Pollard, he ran one night in a preliminary night. He ran one of the 35-lap feature races, and I think he ran a grand total of probably 12 laps, and it's like, oh, man, there's trouble there for Pollard. He came out, that car was super hooked up, and Bubba Pollard wins again at New Smyrna.
Well, the funny thing is they all like those Hoosier short track tires now. Let's see what happens in the middle part of the summer when them things get greasy hot and running around like hockey pucks out there. Or like scoops of ice cream, depending on how bad they go away in the heat. So that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, that was an ASA race. Was a hell of a race. Ty Majeski hanging on there. I guess he had an engine failure again or some kind of flat tire, axle, something. May have saved the season. But they, that World Series, man, them pro late models, they continue every year to tear up more shit. And more than anything, I think that's the class that you continue to see stuff get tore up, and I think it's just because it's the same scenario we talk about in the truck series, the same scenario that we talk about. When all you got to do is just pick up a phone and have Daddy buy you a new one. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, no. Oh, sorry about that, Bobby. Yes, that's exactly the thing right there, where you get into those events like that, and it is when the carnage. The carnage is just the frustrating part, like we saw with the trucks and like we saw with ARCA, and it's a lot of this is that we've talked about it. The respect thing just isn't there, and these kiddos are not working on their stuff. I mean, they're not having to do any of that. And that's why I think it's really cool, like when you go to a local short track or a regional event like that, and you see some of these new drivers, younger drivers that are out there in the pits, and you see them like under the car. You see them working on shit. You see them actually doing something, not sitting over in the hall or on their phone posting on the socials. Yeah, when they should be out there working on this stuff. I mean, they're actually out there having some input. And it's one of those things to where, I mean, if you don't know how to work on it, I mean, at least be involved, because I think that's the biggest thing, like we've talked about so many different times, to where if you're not held accountable for it, I mean, you're just going to go smash shit up. And that really seems to be what we see. And I'm not just talking about asphalt. I mean, we see this across the board in all these different series and racetracks.
Well, I think if Chase Elliott can work on his own shit during the World Series, I think that anybody's able to come in and help work on their own shit. Now, was he getting his hands completely dirty? No, not really. But was he over there engaged? I think might be the better way to say it. Into the team competition, telling him what he felt, telling him what he needed, stuff like that. That, if Chase Elliott can do it and show up at a racetrack like that, then your punk ass needs to be doing it. That's for damn sure.
Well, and that's the best thing, because you hear a lot of these, whether it be a crew chief or a car chief, maybe on the Cup side or Xfinity, to where it's like they're having to try to explain to the driver, tell me what you want, tell me what you're feeling, and the driver don't know what they're feeling. And I mean, that's not a good thing if you get in a race car. I mean, I think some of these guys, I mean, honestly, Bobby, I see some of these drivers, and I think they don't know what loose is. They don't know what loose end is. They don't know what tight is. They don't know about jacking a cranking wedge and doing all. I think they have no freaking idea what that stuff means, and that's why you.
Well, they
see
don't know what causes it. If they're getting into the corner too deep, it's going to be loose as hell coming in because you're getting in too deep. Halfway through that corner, it's going to start pushing like a dump truck, and they don't know which way. They don't know what to talk about. It's like, well, it's loose and it's pushing. Well, it's because your ass is getting in the corner a little too hot. Back off before you get there. That'll take away some of the looseness coming in the car, and then that'll take away some of the pushing. It's just like, the one scene that was somewhat realistic in Days of Thunder was when they went and did the test between Cole Trickle and Harry Hogg. And they said, I want you to run, 50 laps, 200 laps, whatever it was. I want you to run 50 laps any way you want to. And then I want you to run 50 laps like I tell you to. And you saw the difference between the blisters and the regular old tires. That's when they started running real good, because you got to listen to these old guys. Some of these old guys know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, I remember way back when one of the first things when I started driving, Dad handed me it was a Steve Smith performance magazines and literature. All that stuff is some of the best shit that you'll ever find. I'm sure it's all digitized now to where you can find that stuff online or whatever. I still have it. It's sitting in my file, and it taught you it showed you how to drive lines. It explained shock, compression, and rebound, and it showed all these different things, and you read that, and at least you had an idea to where it was like, maybe I didn't understand what some of that shit was, but I could say, hey, when I go in the corner, it like wants to go up the hill. Okay, it's pushing. So we know how to go work with that. And I still have it. And there's notes in there with my horrible ass handwriting about different things. And look that up. Steve Smith Automotive Performance, man. That's really good stuff. And that is way old. That is way old. Shit still works.
Well, the basics are still the basics, right?
That's right.
Till it comes to bump stops, because then they're just like racing a go-kart,
Yeah, that's what jacked it all up.
Yeah.
That's what jacked it all up. All right, let's dive in. Excited again. We do from time to time. We like to bring in our colleagues. We like to bring in our friends that do the same things that we do. A lot of people, it's like, hell, race announcing, there ain't nothing to that. You guys are just sitting up there spouting shit out, whatever. Let's welcome in for the first time. Welcome to the Revved Up Sports Show. It is our man, Zach Clark. Zach, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, brother. Happy to be here, man. Fresh off the Daytona 500. Racing season's getting kicked off, man. We're getting fired up, man. We're getting ready to rock and roll.
What did you think of that race last night?
I know you saw the post I made on Facebook, and I'm not one of those guys who I think we need all motorsports to do well. Like, I'm not a guy who just loves dirt track racing and shits on NASCAR. I want NASCAR to do well just because I think it helps dirt track racing as well. I mean, it all works hand in hand. But personally, I thought it was a typical Daytona 500 restrictor plate racing. And guys got antsy at the end, and I kind of knew it was coming. They did very well. It was an interesting race too, because a lot of it was fuel mileage race. Just so many different things factored into it there at the end. And I didn't like the finish. I'd like to see the guys finish on the green, but I mean, that also gives you the opportunity to tear way more shit too, right?
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
Yeah.
See, Zach, I like the comparison between the rising tide raises all boats, right? Because you see it, when you're out and about amongst the fans, before an event, you'll hear them talking. Some of them don't give a shit about, Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson. Well, actually, I guess they do care about Kyle Larson because he runs so many dirt races, but they don't understand that direct correlation because of the fact that, you need both, right? NASCAR needs the grassroots, and the local stuff needs the NASCAR stuff, because you can get more exposure from a NASCAR race than you can, from a regular race. So I think that it's a rising tide raises all boats. But what do you think causes that huge divide? Obviously, you're a fan of both just like us. You'll watch anything run around in circles on any kind of platform. What do you think causes that great divide? Like it's like you had to be one side or the other. You either loved asphalt and you hated dirt, or you love dirt and hate asphalt. What caused that? And do you think it's still there?
I think to some degree, I can't put my finger on it and give you a definitive answer on why that has been the case in the past. But I think, honestly, from my perception, I think that it's actually gotten a lot better the last several years. I mean, maybe you could point that to being Kyle Larson, but I think with Flow Sports having that deal with NASCAR, I think NASCAR grassroots, I think that really opens up a lot of people's eyes to, because I personally feel like there's so much great talent right on your regular Saturday night short tracks, no matter whether it's asphalt or pavement or dirt tracks, right? But you're right. I mean, there was a significant divide there for quite some time, but I think that also goes hand in hand with anybody who has a keyboard and social media in front of them. They think their opinion matters, right? And it really doesn't at the end of the day. It's the people that are really calling the shots that really make this shit reputable. And, you know, I love it all. I can't, like you said, I can't answer that question definitively to say that it is a huge divide anymore. I honestly feel like we're closer than we've ever been personally.
Yeah, I think we're going down the right road, and that's great. I mean, that's a really good thing. So, Zach, you've been at this for a while, man, and like we were talking about, you know, folks think this is pretty damn easy work. How did it all start for you, dude? And you're synonymous with racing across, I mean, this entire region, dude. You are the man. Kind of talk about how it all laid out for Zach Clark, and you became Zach Clark.
You know, I was talking to Chris David, you know, on a Race on Texas, on his podcast back in June, and he asked me a similar question, and you know, I've thought about that sometimes, and really, there's no other way to look at it other than I just have a huge passion for sports. My brother raced cars, my dad raced for 14 or 15 years, so I grew up in the grandstands at Webster Speedway in Minden, Louisiana. And I grew up going to the races, and I would sit up in the stands and I'd have a notepad and I'd be taking notes on all these guys. Yeah. You know, I was always obsessed with statistics. I never had a desire to drive a race car. I always just had desire that, hey man, maybe I can get up there and talk about it one day. You know, things have evolved so much, obviously, here recently with streaming and all. We'll get to that, I'm sure, in a moment. But man, I've just always had a passion for racing and really any kind of sport. And like I said, statistics. And I was waiting tables at Outback Steakhouse back in 2008. I graduated high school in 2007, and I was waiting on Gene Border. He was a regular customer of mine. He owned Arklatex Speedway, and I grew up. I idolized that guy. I thought he was a true badass, right? Like behind the wheel of a race car. And him and Mr. Leroy Montgomery, he's an older guy. He passed away in 2013. And but Gene and Leroy got me started. I was waiting tables at Outback, and they'd come in. I said, "Hey man, maybe I can come up there and call a race or." You know, and really, I didn't know what I was asking. He said, yeah, man, sure. You know, we need some young blood. And so I showed up to the Quick Race Car Spring Nationals that year. And man, I started announcing. I think this is going to be my 16th season announcing racing, you know, and it's crazy because I started when I was 19. And, but yeah, Gene and Mr. Leroy gave me that very first opportunity, man. And it just kind of evolved to Boot Hill and Lone Star, then to 67, you know, just these different places. But I just have a passion for it, man. I want to, I feel like when I go to a track now, if I'm just going as a fan, I don't feel like I know my place in the sport, if that makes sense. I don't know how to go to the racetrack and just be a fan. I always say I'm just a fan armed with a microphone, right? But I don't know my place in the sport if I'm just going to watch, right? Like I feel like there's something in me that like, I got to get out, you know, I got to let people know about it. You know, there's just something in me that I feel like I need to share with people about racing.
I hear you, man.
And every time I sit in the grandstands, I will say something right before the announcer does it, and we'll say almost the exact same thing, and everybody be like, why are you sitting here? I'm like, it's not my track. I'm not here to announce. I'm here to watch.
Yeah.
I'm here to drink beer with you, right? But I think you're on the right track, Zach, because I think deep down, you know, we love what we do. You know, it's a brotherhood, and it is hard to find new blood to come in and to replace us because it's such a challenging job now. And we'll hit it streaming to a little effect. I mean, you have so many tasks, right? You get to run music. You get to run statistics. You get to run your mouth. You get to talk about lineups. You got to find lineups. Got to figure out stuff from the tower about why the fan favorite got spun out and the people are coming up to you yelling at you because he got spun out, right? And then you got to entertain the online crowd now. Like, it's hard as hell what we do. The good ones of us make it look real easy, and that's when you get the compliments. Oh, that's so easy. Anybody could do it.
Yeah, so easy. Anybody could do. I always, you know, because you get a lot of armchair quarterbacks on social media. I've been very fortunate, to be honest with you. I'm sure there are quote haters out there, but I've been really fortunate to not have very many detractors, like, or less people to my face, right? Like, I've really been that fortunate, and I know you can't please everybody, but man, I'll be honest with you. I aim to please everyone in this industry. And I know that that's impossible, but that is my goal. Like, I want, when I'm announcing racing, I want people, and I'm sure Rodney feels the same way. Bobby, you guys do a phenomenal job. And my goal is for when someone comes to the racetrack, let's say it's their first time there ever. Like I've invited some friends from high school out, and I'll typically invite them to like a super late model race. So that's their first visit. So they really see like, man, these guys are about their business, right? But in my job as an announcer, I want these people to feel like we're at a legitimate sporting event. Granted, we don't always start on time. I wish that's something we could really tackle and kick. Because hey, if even the Shreveport Mudbugs NAHL hockey team says they're starting at 7-11, they're starting at 7-11. You know what I'm saying? We have all different factors and variables as far as packing the track and so many different things, to consider. But man, I want people when they come to the track that, man, the guy talking about it is about his business. He clearly loves it, but the guys that he's talking about truly love it as well. So I just look to put respect on the guys' names that are racing and represent them to the best of my ability.
And isn't that the thing, Zach, that I see is I've kind of started to travel around a little bit outside of Texas and kind of a little bit further southeast. It's like there's not a lot of guys that do this shit the way that we do it, where, if I don't know a driver, if we get a new driver, I'm going to go shake his hand. I'm going to get to know him. He's got a kid named Billy, and then he's got a daughter named Jessica. I want to get to know all that shit. He has a body shop. I want to know all this stuff so I can talk about it at different times. And I think with some of the folks more in the, not that we're not mainstream, but maybe in the more mainstream than we are, they don't care about that. They're looking at a monitor and just telling you, blah, 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 blah. Man, this is a passion. This is a passion that I think we have.
Absolutely. There's a lot of guys who can show up and, say hey, I'm an announcer at a dirt track, but doesn't really put a whole lot of stock in it. And that's kind of where we come from. When I grew up at Webster Speedway, I mean, no offense to the gentleman who was doing it at the time, it just wasn't that good, but we didn't have streaming and all this different thing. We're just talking about what comes strictly out of the PA system, right? Man, and I mean, you just read off a few sponsors. Things have evolved so much where we're under a microscope a lot of times now, right? But and I'd travel down the road to Greenwood, Louisiana, and go to Boot Hill because my dad raced at Webster more often. And I'd go to Boot Hill and I'd hear Tom Michaels. And Tom Michaels is on 98 Rocks and Shreveport on the radio. Guy just had a very good cadence, had an awesome voice. And I was like, holy shit. Like it livened the event up. You know what I'm saying? Like it really made Boot Hill feel like it was on a top tier. And I'm not saying that we're that important, but for me, showing up as a young kid, between the ages of 8 to 12 years old, that guy was about his business, man. And when everything got like, I'd get chill bumps when he did the intro to start off the racing, man. So I don't know, they make a difference.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, it's just so weird to think because you're on your, what'd you say, 12 or 15, Zach?
I think this is 16, only because I had memory pop up and I said it was my 14th year. I think that was 2 years ago. So this would be year 16.
Yeah, I was working on the bio for Race on Texas. I'm on year 20. And I think it's crazy to see how it's evolved to where when we were kids going to the racetrack, the announcer would say, here's your lineup and here's halfway, and then here's your finishing order. Now we have to be play-by-play guys the entire race and still do the lineups and still do the sponsors and do all of that. It's not quite as easy as it once was when the old school guys, they were great and they served their purpose, and those old school fans loved them and they hated us when we first started nonstop running our mouths. But now if you go to a racetrack and the announcer's not running his mouth, you're wondering what the hell's going on. Why do they have this guy here?
Oh, damn. Let's see. I don't see him breathing, man. Let's take a look right here. He's got all his bars. I think we still have him. We'll try him here once again, but that's a great point. I wanted to hear his answer right there because that is definitely something that has changed. I'm going to do that 1 second. We'll try to bring him back in one more time. Yeah, we lost him there for a second, so I'm sure he'll click back in. But, I mean, that really is the difference because there is a difference between and I know I've pissed some people off when I've said this in the past, but I mean it because it's true. There's a difference between a PA. It's like when people say you're an announcer, I'm like, I kind of like to think of myself more as a broadcaster because I mean that's what we're doing. I mean, this is when you go back and you look at like what we were watching last night. I mean, with what they're doing, I mean, it's crazy. No, that's all right. I don't know what all you heard right there.
I didn't hear most of it, but
go ahead, Bobby, get him again because
I'm sorry about that, guys. My internet, my hotspot just totally
I never know if it's y'all or me, dude. It's like we got so many fucking devices going on up in here. I never know what's going on.
You think you're ready, and then technology slaps you.
Well, basically, what it was the analogy that it's so different now than what we grew up with watching and listening, because now when we all first started. If you go to a racetrack now and the guy only gives you a lineup, a halfway point, and an end result, you're wondering what's going on when the guy's not being a play-by-play guy the whole time. Because I remember when I first started, they used to have to tell the drivers in the drivers meetings to tell the wives, the girlfriends, the cousins, husbands to kind of make sure to not come chase after us, because our job was to be entertaining. We were sitting there. We were supposed to talk about, hey, we know this guy, name of this guy's dog who attacked Billy Bob last week because it was funny as hell. That was before Facebook, right? So I think it's changed enough nowadays to where it's like, if you go to a racetrack and you don't have somebody running their mouth in a professional manner, you just don't know what to do.
Yeah, it's as far as my job, just when I started in 2008, it's evolved so much just from that period of time, because I'd say that I really called my first, my first live stream event actually in 2009. I went up to Lucas Oil Speedway. They call it the Diamond of Dirt Tracks, and it was a WatchModsLive.com broadcast. And this was like the first time I'd ever broadcast. I mean, I'm announcing Kelly Stryock, all these badasses, you know, and all I had was just me and my passion. I had no fucking clue how to broadcast a race. I just PA announced, you know what I mean? Like, I had no idea what I was really doing. And they said I did a good job. Anyway, long story short, but since that time, like I'd say 2011 or 12 is whenever streaming really became pretty large. I mean, Dirt Vision and those guys have been doing, race broadcasts for the World of Outlaws for quite some time, but everything was pay-per-view. Like, everything's gotten so large now. But as far as me personally, my announcing has evolved so much, but I've also had to find a happy medium in it, because you have to realize that the people that pay their ticket, their hard-earned money to sit in the actual grandstands to get that full effect, they're there for the full experience as well. And there's a happy medium you must find, and announcing for the broadcast online at home, and also getting excited for the people that can hear you in the stand. So when the people that are watching online be like, man, he's, he might sound like he's yelling, or no, man, I'm just trying to portray that over the speakers where the people can actually hear me at the racetrack, because they're just as important as all the people sitting at home as well.
Dude, that's a great point. Isn't that? Because like when they're coming down and they're going to do the salute or whatever's going on right there, you are the track announcer. And so you got to build that stuff up. But it's like that green flag comes out and they haul ass. The people in the stands can't hear you. So then it's like you kind of get back down to doing TV. And I think that's a line where I see a lot of folks to where it's like they start going and it's like, okay, drop the PA part and go into the broadcast. It's like a fine line now, isn't it? And
it is.
So for you with streaming, I mean, I think that the nice thing about it is, and your thoughts with this, it puts us in front of a lot of different people. I mean, obviously here with Race on Texas and all the different platforms. I mean, I saw Russell Vickery talking about you do stuff with iRacing and all that. You get in front of a lot of people, man. And that's the cool part about the evolution of what we do.
It really is, man. I really, really enjoyed it. And I've enjoyed that kind of extra microscope being on it, because I think it gives a better microscope into how much I really love what I do. Right. Like I don't proclaim to be the best. I don't want to necessarily be the best. I just want to do what I love to do. And if people enjoy hearing it, then that's great. And that does keep you going. I mean, when you get positive reinforcement, that's always nice to hear, right? That because like I'm in my office tonight, I'm preparing for this Southern Thaw race coming up. I mean, I've always said, and my parents told me, the separation's in the preparation. I'm not trying to separate over another announcer. We're all different in ourselves, but I want to show up and show out whenever it's my job to get on the mic and do a good job. So, here I am preparing 3 weeks ahead of time for an event that I announce, in March. So, I mean, and that's what you have to do, man. It's a different world now. People are really watching you closely with all this streaming, and you have to be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Wait,
used to. Yeah, well, used to like Rodney and you both said, sorry to cut you off there, is when the race was, on the PA, they're not going to be able to hear you anyway. So really the job was pretty damn easy 20 years ago. I mean, you were talking about it being easy or not. Like, no, I'll be honest with you. Like, it would have been a hell of a lot easier, but I don't have the desire to go and shut up that long. Like, I want to talk about it. So it's like, great. It's great for me.
Yeah. It was like your main duty was to do the 50-50. Don't fuck up the 50-50 because everybody can hear that.
Don't get me started on 50-50. I'm not a fan.
Same.
Hey, Hey, Zach, what's your feelings on doing birthday salutes, dude? Because it never fails. You'll get one person to do a birthday salute, and then if you don't have a second hander, it's like you'll get a million damn people coming up and bothering you. Hey, it's my cousin's birthday. It's my sister's
Oh
birthday.
man.
Be like, sorry guys, I'm in the middle of trying to announce happy birthday. But it's like,
Yeah.
it's not that I don't want the kids that are there for their birthday not entertained, but it's like if you do it for one, it opens up the floodgate, and it's just like, damn, I need an assistant to write down all these birthdays.
Yeah, there would be a time like when I remember announcing a Boot Hill, and I'm like, if anybody has any anniversaries, birthdays, or anything that they'd like to have announced, I'd be happy to do it for you, when time allows. And more, I'd get a bunch. I personally don't mind doing it. Like, I think it's cool if someone comes to the racetrack and maybe they're not celebrating their birthday, but they're still at the racetrack on their birthday, right? And I don't mind those people so much. Now, Lord forgive me for saying this, and you can ring your bell. I don't care. But when people come up to me, and maybe I shouldn't say this, it's like typical same couple individuals every week. Hey man, would you mind saying a prayer for my aunt, cousins, my sister's Aunt Debbie? She is, she's been in the hospital and then 3 weeks later at the next event, I'm getting another. Hey man, could you mind praying for Debbie again? It's like, man, absolutely. You know what? Let me go ahead and send this to my deacon at the church, and maybe he can help get us, get that worked out for it. It's just so like that is something I don't mind. Like prayer's a big deal at the racetrack when we get it started. And Josh Bell, who's my co-announcer at Boot Hill, he does a great job. He's really involved in the church, and I grew up in church, and doing and saying prayer at the racetrack is not a problem whatsoever. It's just there are some pretty wild and elaborate requests in the past, and I could have gone into more detail, but I'm not going to do that.
Zach, I jokingly said at a track one night. So I was doing the whole, we had all this downtime. It was on pavement. We had a big old oil slick everywhere. We were going to be delayed. I don't know how long it was going to be. And I'm like, so if you have a birthday, anniversary, whatever, come on up. And, you had a couple people that whatever. And I'm like, so if you're celebrating a divorce, let me know. And oh my God, that was like, I had women coming up. You tell that sorry son of a bitch because he's sitting on the other side. I'm like, I think I'm going to leave that part out.
Yeah,
but it's something else. So Zach, I do want to touch on, and we don't have to go into a lot of detail, but I know for you, I saw on the Race on Texas podcast this year for you making your way back in. Obviously away for a little bit, but getting yourself back into the fold, and of course, I think it was great. Welcomed back in with open arms. That's what the racing family does. Kind of talk about that part, making your way back in, dude. It was like you were never gone, man.
Yeah, I called a couple of races last year, or I'm sorry, year before last, 2022, and I just wasn't calling as many, and I was very transparent and let everybody know the things that I went through. Right, I went to rehab, and I've been very honest and transparent about that, man. And to God, God be the glory. I'm still doing very well now, and I'm thankful for that. At the time, I didn't really realize what was happening or why it was happening to me, but at the end of the day, I think it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. I miss racing so much. My passion for it never left when I was gone. But yeah, man, when I came back, when Chris told me he wanted to have me on the podcast, I said, man, I'm just letting you know up front, I'm going to be honest and transparent with everyone, because I don't think it's right that maybe I've been gone as I have. Everyone's been asking about me, and I just act like nothing ever happened. Right. And right. So, and I thought it was very important, and I also opened it up at the end that if anybody was ever dealing or struggling with things that, maybe I could be a help to them, because I have a big heart, and if I can help people, with some of the struggles that I've been through, and I mean, hey, that's what I'm here for, man. And right. My passion for racing never left, but I had to get me right. I had to get me right, man. And very thankful and blessed that I'm right, man. And it's still a work in progress too. Like nobody's perfect, but man, I'm thankful to be where I'm at, and I'm also very thankful for where Chris has never wavered from his support for me. I've been with him and Harry Fair since 2015, man. I've been with those guys a long time, and nobody has been more loyal. Their friendship means everything to me, and it also means everything to me to never let them down again in that regard. So, I got to make sure I do everything on my end to make sure I'm stay buttoned up and continue to do a good job.
That's right.
Oh, I have to follow that with a question. Thanks, guys. Golly. Actually, I do have one to change it to a little different tone. How do you deal with all the white trailers in the pits, Zach? Like when you go through, like when I started announcing down at Texana, trying to learn the different drivers, it's a long way to get there. And so I'm trying to learn the drivers. I'm like, hey, where is so and so at? So I go talk to him. I'm like, oh, he's in the white trailer. And you go around the corner, and every one of the damn trailers is white. The dirt track guys don't, unless they're like touring modifieds, they don't put the numbers on the side of the trailers anymore. No. Nobody has an open trailer anymore. And it's like, you just got to go and like just try to beg to talk to some of these drivers because they're stuck away in their haulers. How'd you manage to deal with that over the years?
Well, I know when I was growing up at the racetrack, I mean, certainly things have changed so much because, I mean, I'd be looking at them underneath the stands. They're pulling out like, hey, there's Eddie Collier. There's so-and-so. Like, they're on an open trailer. You know, it was a walking or a rolling advertisement, right, for all these guys. Now it is totally different. I mean, if we're talking in regards to maybe USMTS, which they'll be at Hunt County this weekend, all those guys are typically an all white. Like, you could have been able to separate Joe Duvall, right? I don't know if you're aware with Joe Duvall's, but he's got the big painted Smokey and the Bandit thing on the side. So everybody knows Joe's trailer, but a lot of those white S&S haulers are white. Or if we're just talking the smaller race team may have a factory or a limited modified in it. It is kind of hard to differentiate, man. But I'd say that, you know, if they're in their hauler, I always try to find a particular, or not a particular time, but I try to find good times to go around and talk to these people when I know that they're available. But it's a fine line because you also don't want to go around and start intruding on their time where they're trying to tinker with the race car, right? You know, right for the action, and they're trying to get their game face on. It's like, you don't want to really interview starting quarterback of a football team, like right before he takes his first snap of the game. It just doesn't really work out that way. Yeah. But that's another thing that kind of has a fine line to it, man. But I mean, that's just preparing for a race night, right? So, hey, if they're available, then I'll get you. But if you're not, then guess what? Then I don't get to talk about all these extra nuggets that I could have got on you that I would have shared with the fans on the broadcast.
Pro tip, guys, get to know the wife or the girlfriend. Because you get to go talk to them. It's like, I ain't got to talk to that ugly dude. I'll go find out from her. That's anyway. Zach, you do a lot of things extremely well. But I got to tell you, I love when you're doing the broadcast, dude. I mean, the nicknames to the racetrack. I mean, the phrases that you coin. I mean, it's like when I see something coming, I'm like, oh, shot in the shorts is coming. Shot in the shorts is coming. When I'm sitting there watching, talk about that part, man. You paint pictures and you color things up, and it's just everybody has their own style, and folks do different things. And dude, that's one of the joys of listening to you when you're doing your broadcast.
Thank you, man. I enjoy it. I could talk all day about. I really enjoy listening to you as well. I love your professionalism to the game, and we can talk about that another time or maybe in a moment. But yeah, man, I try to have fun with it. Like, there's a fine. Here I go saying fine line again. There is a line. There is a line you have to balance though, with not sounding like a clown or being too much and being professional. Like, I want to be as professional as possible, but I also want to have some fun with it and make the fans laugh. And I know a lot of people probably heard a lot of these one-liners or isms or things that I've said over the years, and they've heard them a million times. But you know what? There's probably a lot of people in the stands, maybe somebody watching, who's never heard it.
Waiting for them, and they're waiting for them, Zach.
And they've never heard them though. So you got to say it again, you know. But you know where I get that from? I get that from, and like you said, everybody has a different style, and I tried to find my own sound and cadence to actually having, you know, the voice for dirt track racing or for just announcing or broadcasting in general. But where I get that kind of silly, you know, witty approach to it like that is from the late great Rick Eshelman. Rick was the voice of the World of Outlaws late model series, and he was one of my heroes, man. I love the guy. You know, unfortunately we lost him 2 years ago, you know, to suicide. And I don't think I've still wrapped my head around that, you know, aside from, you know, just thought, but I get a lot of that from Rick. I announced a couple World of Outlaws late model shows with him at Lone Star Speedway. And I was just so taken aback at how much he loved this sport, but he also had a really witty approach to it, you know, but was so good at it, man. He was a master of his craft. So I kind of get that a little bit from him and just try to incorporate that a little bit in my game and kind of make it my own with different things. But, you know, and there's some that I even say, like, you know, the right side romance thing, that's totally not mine. People hear me say that, and I'll say, you know, that the great Jerry Van Sickle would say, you know, because I like to give credit when credit's due to guys that come up with great shit. And if I say it, then I try to give them their credit.
Right. No, I totally get that. I totally get that.
See, that's the one fun part about trying to do the Race on Texas voiceover for the highlights and then having to follow some of you guys is I have to say something smart ass that fits in between all y'all's professional calls, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So That's the one I have to. I'm like y'all. It's that fine line between being a smart ass about calling a race that's somebody's about to crash, but yet at the same time I don't want to take away the call, because sometimes the calls are what makes the race in action, and some of the crashes that much more spectacular. So it becomes a challenge to do some of those voiceovers, but I have a good time trying to do it.
Yeah. Ultimately, man, you want to have fun when you're up there, right? Like you want to, because I mean, the day you start taking it, I mean, I do take it seriously, but the day you start taking it way too serious and you're not enjoying it and you're showing up and it's a drag, then I mean, why are you even doing it for, man? You know, I mean, why are you continuing to do it? So, like I've told Chris on that podcast several months ago, I'm gonna continue to do this until that passion or that light burns out for me, because then I won't be able to offer the race fans what I feel is truly one of my greatest assets, and that is my passion for racing.
Yeah, passion and knowledge is a huge thing. So 2024, man, here we are. You're preparing right now for the thaw. What all is on your docket for this year? I mean, I know there's probably still stuff to fill in. I always do my stuff in pencil because things happen so fast. But so what's in store for you this year? Regular appearances and tracks and so forth.
Yeah, I wing it a lot. No, but I'll be committed to Boot Hill Speedway this year. The oldest operating dirt oval in the state of Louisiana since 1973. I think this is our 52nd season there, and really excited. I've called the racing at Boot Hill since 2009. I had a year or so off, and man, I'm super happy to be back. Man, that is Bubba and Rollo have done such a phenomenal job at that place, just really giving it a much needed facelift. And they're doing a really good job promoting it. I'm not just saying that because they're two very good friends of mine. I mean, they truly are putting a lot into it, man. And I think it's really going to pay dividends for them this year. Hosting a World of Outlaws race, so that's one I'm really looking forward to in September. Got the Mod War 100. I've been fortunate to get the nod to call that race. Yep. I've called a 50,000 to win crate late model show before at Super B in Chatham. But I haven't called a 50,000 to win modified show. So I'm really, really looking forward to that, man. It's going to be the who's who of dirt modified racing at one of the most badass racetracks, in my opinion, in the country. Like, you call a lot of races in Waco, man. That is a really, really awesome racetrack. You throw 50 bones on the line for these guys that hangs in the balance. It's going to be popping like Janis Joplin, son. It's going to get crazy. It's going to get crazy. Yeah, so that and I'll hit Justin Whitehead always puts on that big 5,000 win Mike Parker Memorial at it's going to be at Texarkana 67 Speedway this year. Shout out Tim Crawley, they're doing a phenomenal job over there. Man, we have such great racing here in the Arklatex. I was telling a friend of mine the other day that I had the opportunity to go and announce the Bad Boy 98 one year at Batesville. It was co-sanctioned with Comp Camp Super Dirt Series late models and the Lucas Oil Series, so could have potentially co-announced with James Essex that weekend. Would have been awesome to do that for the second time in my career. But I elected to stay home, and I announced a 5,000 win stock car show at Timberline for Justin because that was a prior commitment and I had to honor it, right? And I'm sure he'd have understood, but that's how much I just love stock car racing. So I always look forward to that race, man. I love factory stock racing. It's the cream of the crop around here. It's just phenomenal. The West Grigsby Memorial at Boot Hill, it's pays $6,900 to win for limited modifieds. Man, I could go on and on, man. I don't want to take too much time, but man, we have some phenomenal races, marquee events that are coming up in the Arklatex and the state of Texas this year that, man, I'm really, really excited about, looking forward to getting at.
No doubt.
Yep.
I'm just amazed. I guess I need to step up my game and prepare more. You guys are talking about preparing and meeting drivers and all that. I guess I need to get back in the habit of that, because so Zach, how do you handle a name that you can't get right even after you talk to the driver? I've got a couple of names that kind of Polish in nature, and I've talked to the driver and he's explained it phonetically how to say it, and I will still get that damn name wrong. What's the key to fix that?
I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to
give him a nickname. Give him a nickname.
Yeah, give him a nickname. Yeah, that's a good one. I would like to not tell y'all this story, but so I was hired to announce the United States Modified, the USMTS Modifieds at Clint Boyer's home track, Lakeside Speedway, 2013. Right. So I go up to Lakeside to call, and I'm super excited. And as many USMTS Modified shows that I've called in the past, with Chris Steppen or Lon Elke and other guys, I was doing it. It was just me. It was me by myself. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen Darren Fuqua, his name on a lineup. It's spelled Fuqua. Yeah. Seems pretty simple, right?
Yep.
But I've never heard another guy announce his name at the time. And boy, I got to his name on the lineup sheet, and I can't tell you what I said, but I think that's why I probably not called another race there. Darren, no, I didn't say the FUCK, but I don't remember, but I totally botched it. And I've never felt dumber still to this day. And that was almost 10 years ago. Still to this day, that grinds my gears that I botched that, man. Like, it really, really bothers me because I've watched the guy race thousands. He's a really good modified racer. He might actually be down here in Greenville this week. Really, really good racer. And it was up to me, and I should have known how to pronounce his name before that event ever started. And that's on me. Huge, huge rookie mistake I made there.
Isn't that the thing when shit like that happens? It's like, man, you can't. I mean, you can do a lot of good things. I mean, you can have a really good night. I mean, there's nights where I'm like, folks are like, man, you were great or whatever, and it's like I go back and I'm like, yeah, but I fucked up really bad twice, and nobody else knows about it, but I'm like, I can't forget that stuff. I just can't forget it. It's it's something else. Zach, this has been a lot of fun, dude. We might need to do like a more often for sure, because that's a cool part about doing this. Like like we talk to other folks in our craft, and it's like it's just fun getting stories like you're talking about, and then you just see the differentiating styles. Colin's been on here, and we've it's good to chop it up with dudes that we all do the same stuff.
I concur, man. It's been a lot of fun. I really enjoy it, and I always enjoy getting you guys different perspectives and your approach to it, man. And I've been watching you guys' show for quite some time, and I've been like, I don't guess Rodney's ever going to call me to come on there. I don't guess it's ever going to happen. And by God, if you didn't message me yesterday, man. So I'm thankful for the opportunity to come on here, man. I really enjoyed it, and thank y'all, man. And I look forward to catching y'all at the racetrack down the line. I'll be honest with you. I've told Chris David several times that I'd love to co-announce a race with Rodney Rodriguez. I think that would be badass. We actually go pretty far back. It's kind of crazy. We were connected over 10 years ago. Doing that deal with Jonathan Sanford, man. And I was young and dumb and not really taking. And I've watched you just blossom into taking care of the things that you're doing in radio and these different tasks that that you have at hand, man. And I got a lot of respect for you guys, man. I think y'all do a phenomenal job, and I enjoy watching this show from afar. So you guys do a great job. So just keep it going.
That was the old days of you're listening to
Strapped In.
Like, dude, do we have to do this at 10 p.m.?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I totally get it.
Oh, Jonathan Sanford. Isn't he the voice of the Rockets now?
I think so.
He left the Spurs to be the voice of the Rockets. Well, I think he went back to Alabama and then came back to Houston.
And that guy there has some golden pipes for PA announcing, like for what he does, particularly. Like that guy has some golden pipes.
Perfect for what he does. Yeah, it's like, man, when I see that dude, it's like, God, it hurts me. It's like my nuts hurt when he starts talking. Like,
I know it.
Oh man, good stuff. All right, Zach, definitely doing this more often, man. We'll have to build a Zach Clark segment into Revved Up. And hey, by the way, big stuff coming up for Race on Texas, it seems like. What are we talking about?
Here's a tease for you.
Oh.
No. But, yeah, not to tease too much. Looking forward to getting our dirt track season kicked off this weekend at Kennedale Speedway Park.
That's right.
That has nothing to do with this incoming announcement or anything, but we're looking forward to getting to Kennedale and really getting the season really rolling off in full gear. We've been doing some go-kart stuff and different things here lately, but as far as the big oval tracks, we're going to get started. And yeah, man, just can't say anything too much. We had our race on Texas end of the year party back in the first week of January. We went down to K1, and I'd like to say I kicked everybody's ass down there riding go-karts, but I in fact did not. But and we can't give Aaron Brungan any credit too. He just started on the front row, so he got lucky there. So sorry about that, Aaron, but we'll get you next time. But yeah, man, lots of great things, man. This is undoubtedly be the biggest season yet for Race on Texas. And we're thrilled. We're excited about it. It's going to be a huge year, man. We're going to continue building relationships with all the drivers, the racetracks, man. And we're just really fortunate and excited about this year.
Yep. We get to do a lot of cool things. All right, Zach, my man, thank you for jumping on. We'll do it again soon, my brother. Have a great season, and we'll keep checking in, buddy.
Thanks, Bobby. Thanks, Rodney, man. Y'all have a blessed night.
You got it.
Take it easy, Zach. See ya.
See ya.
There he goes, Zach Clark. That's one of the best in the business. And as he mentioned right there, Kennedale Raceway Park. I mean, they are firing off $1,000 to win for the modifieds this weekend, $750 for the stock cars. So great conversation right there with Zach. I mean, it's like it's really cool when we get to talk our own craft. I mean, I know I keep saying that, but it's like a lot of people think it's like, okay, you announcers probably don't like each other. I'm like, there's no reason to not like each other. I think that we can feed and learn off of each other. I mean, I think that's kind of a weird misconception that folks think about when it comes to the shit we do.
Well, it's like the MRN versus PRN, right?
Right.
I mean that was the cool deal. We didn't even have a chance to talk about that. Out of all the cool stuff with the Daytona 500, what MRN, the Motor Racing Network, did for Doug Rice, the president of PRN, to let him call the Daytona 500, or at least the start, from a totally different network. That was a class act right there by by both PRN and especially MRN.
I mean, it really was. I mean, I talked to Doug the week prior, and he was like, man, I'm so excited. And I mean, it's like Doug, I mean, he's called everything. I mean, he has had a part in calling every major race that you can think of, and boom, there he is, hits a bucket list. And did you see the video there where he's in the booth and he calls him coming down the front stretch? And it's like, man, that excitement right there is like, people don't understand when we're doing what we do. I mean, that's what it's all about, moments like that.
Yeah, I mean, well, he gets to kick it to somebody else, where we got to kick it around the whole. We don't do it like we used to do back in the day when it was you and I together, where you do a lap and I do a lap. We just spin it around that way. But yeah, it was a cool deal to see. That video was pretty fun, especially when you get to see the excitement, like a kid opening up a Christmas toy.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of video, so I found this. I was going to play this before Zach came on. I was going to lead in to this with Zach. I mean, kind of talking about the stuff that we do, the race announcing and broadcasting and so forth. Our man, the infield tractor tire. Have you seen this? This is him talking about it. And a lot of times it is like this on race nights for us.
All right, folks, y'all get ready tonight. It's going to be a lot of action. We're probably going to run till 3 or 4 in the morning because we have 4 classes of modifieds and 602 and 604 and open late models here. So just get ready, and it's going to be a long night. Whoa, slide John, slide John, slide John. Whoa, caution in turn 2. Linda, stop the car. We got us a yard sale. Starting second row outside is our defending points champion. He's probably going to run for a solid 8th tonight, as he did every week last year, and somehow managed to win the points. It's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it turns out for him. I guess these sport contacts will get lined up. We'll get moving tonight. For the land of the free and the home of the brave. All right, everybody, get your earplugs in. Here comes the dwarf car A-Main. And that's the 10th red of the night for the sprint cars. Let's see if this thing's going to time out yet or not. First place has had a comfortable lead for most of the race, but second place is soaking him up like a ShamWow. Hey, can you grab me another beer back there?
About right?
Yeah, sometimes you get that unenergetic about a couple of races, but you got to keep rolling on.
Kind of what it seems like from time to time. By the way, got to talk about our friends at Generation Race Cars. They've been supporters of the program for a very, very long time. How about a quick word when we talk about magical pipes? How about the magical pipes of our man, Phil Whipple?
Hey racers, Phil Whipple here with the Revved Up Sports Show. For the past year, you've heard us talking about our partners over at Generation Race Cars. I'm proud to say they're back again this year, and they're off to a great start. Generation Race Cars, located in Springtown, Texas, continues to offer new chassis body combos all the way to turnkey sport mods and limited modifieds. All cars are built the same as you've seen in Victory Lane with drivers like Alex Hickam, Jeff Shepard, and Dean Abbey. All customers are valued and treated equally, so why not join the winning team? Justin Long is committed to giving each and every customer the time they deserve, along with a commitment to bring quality into every build. If you're ready to join the team, give the guys over at Generation Race Cars a call today at 817-528-2947. You put a lot into your racing program, so why not take it to Victory Lane with Team GRC?
All right. Good stuff right there from Phil. And a big week coming up as we talked about KRP getting set. We talked to Mike McCarthy, the Big Chill Enduro 250 happening at Heart of Texas Speedway. And that's just kind of the icing on the cake, Bobby, where it's going. And, man, I'm looking forward to get it started again. I think we're going to have a good time.
Well, it's just that time of the year, dude. Knocking the dust off, knocking the rust off, getting in travel shape, if you will, because some of the races are going to be a little bit. See, you're lucky; you get to start pretty quick. I don't get to start till the end of the month of next month. So, yeah. Although I probably will come join you down there at the booth. There, I don't know if I'm going on Friday, but I'll definitely be there Saturday for that big race down there in Corpus. So,
oh yeah, man, that's going to be yeah. For me, it's once we get into March, it gets pretty balls to the wall to where we'll be pretty nonstop here for a good part of the season. And again, like we were talking about, be on the lookout because now just different with the ease and technology and so forth. Really looking to do. More of these shows on the road, maybe at tracks that Bobby's at or I'm at or whatever. We'll get you some stuff. Again, if you're checking in on the Race on Texas page, you probably want to be tuned in. I think on what is that? What do we say? The 22nd,
222 at noon.
222 at noon. So be checking into that. I'm a little privy to some of that. I don't know a lot of the details. I've had folks asking me, and it's like when I play dumb, I'm not being totally dumb because there's a lot that I don't know and don't want to know. So yeah, just stay tuned. And Bobby, I'm sorry. I actually just got a text on this. I don't know why people continue to want to see this. Because it's time to go, go time. I guess that's why people want to check that out. And of course, don't forget Asphalt firing off as well. Houston getting set to rock and roll. So we're really in race mode and looking forward to a great year.
It'll be a lot of fun. Looking like it's going to be that travel time again, starting off a couple of weeks with the race ranch and that big ASCS show. And then you go the next weekend to Houston. And then the big, you'll be pulling not double duty, but you'll be at the Rattler when the World Outlaws comes to Cotton Bowl. So that'll be a lot of fun stuff happening right there. And then NASCAR COTA, for those that like NASCAR, comes the week after that. So March is coming. It'll be hot and heavy and ready to go before we know it.
Yep, time to get rolling once again. Another fun program tonight. Big Mike McCarthy checking in. We just mentioned it. The Big Chill Enduro 250 coming up on Saturday. Heart of Texas Speedway, heartoftexasspeedway.com, and at Hot Speedway on Facebooks. You can check that out there for additional information. And Zach Clark, great, nice conversation right there with Zach as we get ready to shut this bad boy down and put the bun in the oven. Rest of the week for you, my man. What's going on? What are you going to be doing out in the heat? You going swimming? I mean, it's gonna be.
I need to clean out the garage before I start running out of Saturday and Sundays. But I also want to go to the RV show there in Austin on Saturday, but then I'll miss the doubleheader at Atlanta with the Cup and with the trucks and the Xfinity car. So I don't know what the rest of the week just going to be hanging on to the weekend, but I definitely need to clean out the garage to get ready for so I don't run out of Saturdays and Sundays. So that's the next couple of things on the list there. So
probably gonna rain in Atlanta anyway, dude. You know how that goes.
It always rains in Atlanta.
Yeah, we don't need another Monday show or Monday race. Don't need that again. All right, guys, have a great rest of the week. You guys be safe. You guys think of each other, do cool things, be nice to someone. You never know what they're going through. You're going to feel better as well afterwards. Bobby's down south. I am up north. Thanks to everyone for checking in this evening. All of the replays available at RevvedUpSportsShow.com, of course, on YouTube and on the Facebooks. Until we do it again, back at regular time next Monday, 6:30. For Bobby, I'm Rodney. We're gone. This is #Real Race Talk from Texas, the Revved Up Sports Show.